what is the intention of the filmmaker, the intent. What Ghazala was talking about, Shabnam writing a poem about her father. And the poem, because of the nature of poetry, is between the said and unsaid, able to sort of carry the whole in a way, you know, which is not a very long thing. It's not a narrative, it's not a story, it's not a memoir, it's nothing. So that little thing still can carry the seed of something from which she can herself get inspired later. What is the thing you're saying about the film was not made like that, but
her film was way more structured. She started in the beginning by saying that she doesn't feel, a part like one with her father, but then it ends towards the conclusion of the film. She changes what she began the film with, and this is her way of feeling as though she's part of her father in a sense. So yeah.
20 years में 60 films. खतरनाक. कोई आदमी कितना काम कर सकता है 20 साल में, इतना काम किसी ने प्रोड्यूस किया है. एंड देन हम अगर मैं पूरी मूवी के थ्रू अगर सुखदेव को देखूं तो मैंने ये फिल्म 3 तरीके से देखी. पहला तरीका, जब हम कल सुखदेव की हुई शूट इमेजेस देख रहे थे. दूसरा तरीका, उनकी बेटी ने ये शूट किया. एंड थर्ड वर्जन विच आई सॉ, which was made by Gulzar. जो उनकी बेटी है वो बार बार बोल रही है कि वो उनको गुस्सा है उनके फादर के ऊपर, पर उनकी ट्रीटमेंट में नहीं दिखा कि वो गुस्सा है. वो सॉफ्ट ही दिखी है मुझे. इवन उनका फर्स्ट शॉट में somehow I felt connected, like the way Shrishti talked about that. One felt there is a connection. The condition of women, that also being portrayed very well. The way her mother doesn't want to talk anything. वो बोल रही है, थोड़ा बहुत तो बोल ही रही है, पर एक लाइन जब वो कहती है ना कि वो माफिया मोहत मांगते थे, कि आई लव यू लिखते थे, माफिया मोहत मांगते थे. पता नहीं कितनी ऐसी औरतें हैं जो वो उस एक दिन जो माफी मांग ले तो बाकी सारा जितना भी ब्रूटल वो चल जाएगा. वो एक दिन माफी मांग लेता है ना. मुझे लगा कि somehow it turns out to something which is healing sort of process hai. The other thing I thought of, what if the film is being filmed by a man, not a woman? How the treatment will be different. Lastly, मुझे बस एक word आया. Both the director and the family who didn't give up. Both are acted as martyr.
Yeah. A lot of times you see that the family or the wife generally will play that role of that invisible support, as Snigdha was saying. And how important is, why so many people are not able to answer that question, why did he have to marry if the family was so like unimportant? Because there is no answer, because family was important. And important in the way it sustains him, even though he dies so young. Even then, what all we can imagine with the very little that the mother has spoken, because she can't speak more than this, and this much also she's speaking because this is the daughter's film.
It's a deliberate attempt, and I think it's also the use of imagination as a resource. We've spoken about imagination for a few lectures, and in this film I think it really comes through that there is a certain leap of faith, imagination that goes into a project like this, because it's going to be extremely painful, the whole process. I know that because I'm also working on a memoir right now, and it is extremely painful to go to those places. So it was very interesting to see that, that was a very brave choice, and in a way just like her father. So and her father, just to speak in a cultural context, like and also Snigdha mentioned the martyr, like the coming from a Sikh family, kind of going to war, going to battle. It's every third person in the family, has been, part of the army, the navy, whatever, so it's part of the culture, so to speak.
I think I really like the movie because I understand the intention behind it, you know.
Yeah.
She made this film, and in the process of finding out more about her father, like, you know, she became one with him, but also because at the end there's like an interview section towards the credits
Hmm.
where you hear the filmmaker talk about the film.
Hmm.
And I think it's not only a process of finding out more about her father, but also like a film made for her kids, you know, because they don't know anything about their grandfather.
मदर और डॉटर का जो डायलॉग है इसके अंदर, इसमें उस डायलॉग ने आपको ऑथेंटिसिटी दी है और एक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट दिखाया है उस पर्सन की लाइफ में, सुखदेव की, कि वो जैसे फिल्म बना रहे थे और उनकी फैमिली लाइफ, वो एक तरफ वायलेंस पे फिल्म बना रहे हैं और दूसरी तरफ उनकी फैमिली के अंदर वायलेंस हो रहा है। ये दिखाना मीडिया के सामने, टीवी पर दिखाना बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज होता है किसी फैमिली के लिए। तो ऑफ कोर्स एक महरूम पिता के बारे में ऐसी बात करना टीवी पर आकर या एक मेन स्ट्रीम में आकर तो बड़ी बात होगी अपने आप में। किसी भी बहुत डेयरिंग वाला काम था जो उनकी डॉटर ने किया है, तो ऑफ कोर्स ये एक अच्छी बात लगी हुई डॉक्यूमेंट्री मुझे।
Also, I enjoyed this line very much. This is just before the title slide comes on, the Last Adieu, as in it says, it says she thought that, it was a traumatic chapter that would fade away with time. And then, but do we have the choice really to forget? And I think she's been so authentic. It's just incredible that someone would say things like, that why get married, like Snigdha mentioned, why get married? Like that's really an incredibly, I mean, of course it's coming from pain, but to ask that question in front of the camera, two people who've loved him so much, it takes something to say that, guts, gumption, spunk, whatever. So she's definitely a woman who takes after her father unwittingly. I don't think she realizes that, but she takes after him in so many ways.
Very nice, those connections that you're making. And, that very difficult sometimes to make these connections and comparisons also, because in comparisons also we lose so much, but that the film allows for these comparative reading also to be made, also speaks about the film. Hi, Aisha.
I really enjoyed the structure of the film. For example, the kind of dialogue that it takes place. And the dialogue, I think it's also the manifestation of the filmmaker and the journey, what happens. It is very interesting because the red light and the questions that she has, I think for me, as a person who has seen lots of Sukhdev films, I have always found it very difficult to associate with him because one doesn't have a literature on him and the thought process and how it happens. But suddenly there is this filmmaker who is very important, whose work is very significant, and the kind of montage that he draws is very interesting. But I think through the filmmaker, it's a very personal reaction I had towards the film because it's not the gap that she fills for herself, but as a viewer of the film, it was a gap that I was able to construct Sukhdev also. The shades of a person I'm not able to see, or the filmmaker I'm not able to reach. I was able to reach the filmmaker also to a certain extent, and because the kind of work that he has done and the kind of questions that she has posed, it's very interesting because. Two instances I really enjoyed. Made me think, not enjoyed, but made me think. One is the instance when she says he slapped me for that particular thing, and the kind of shot that comes up. And the other thing is when she says that I also in the street where she falls off, and he says that you have to run away. That those are the interesting things. How does the journey takes place? And I think I was able to relate to lots of discussions that we had on memory and time, because we were able to see the memory of a person and how it is created through people. And the people are at two levels, at a professional and a personal level. So how the memory also takes place of the same person, but we are looking at the same person from different perspective also. So multiple perspectives, that was something I really enjoyed because there's this professional sphere, which is very different from what a personal sphere is. For example, a wife and the reaction of the wife, which is very different from the person. And you are able to see at one point, as like we think, are we discussing about two Sukhdevs? Because one is a very the person says he's my man, he's my friend, I can fall back on. And the wife is saying, he's always saying sorry because of gali galojo and everything which he says. So that was something very experience. So as a viewer, it was a very interesting experience for me to watch the film and see multiple things and how it transport and how it happens and how the process of the filmmaking also takes place from initial level, personal, becoming political also, and what the system does to a person. I think that was so interesting because the relationship with Indira Gandhi and a filmmaker of his stature not being able to find work for 3 years was something that was very interesting to see and how the process takes place. So I really enjoyed the film with us. But what kind of question it raises, the kind of aesthetic it establishes because it's a dialogue. It's a dialogue that happens between the filmmaker and the Last Adieu. I think the title was something very interesting. The Last Adieu, and what kind of Last Adieu can we think of when we're discussing about a filmmaker like Sukhdev, and is there a Last Adieu because his writings and his books and what kind of impact it has. So it was very interesting for me to see. Thank you.
And in academics, we've read how we study the auteur, the auteur studies. Now this film comes at a very nice point, where you see the auteur from such a personal lens, where he's not just an artist, but you're also seeing him as somebody who has been as fallible as any human can be. So and this girl, his daughter, is trying to make that connection with him through the body of work that he has produced. Like, Ishan said that it is creating a dialogue. So that dialogue is being created because he's done that kind of work with people, So, which is very interesting. And also the fact that when she says that, he has not touched my life. But this whole journey that she takes is about that, making that touch with her father, keeping that dialogue in process. That yes, it also raises that question, that if Sukhdev would not have produced this body of work, then this touch would also not have been established like that. If because of this work, she says that, because we're so engrossed in the work, that's why he didn't have time for his family or whatsoever. I think it's a very complex dynamic that is established in the film, and it also makes us question that how do we see artists as such, because there are instances where people will go into this madness of work, into this madness of saying something. That is also asking for a very sensitive eye from the viewers as well, that how do we see the film? Because it's very easy for us also to make hasty judgments of calling that person, ye to acha, he was not a good family man, so we can discard his work also. But that's not how we can see the film and the filmmaker, because it's going beyond what he was trying to do and what he's actually done. Like Singha said, in 20 years of career, you're making 60 films. You need to have that kind of madness and that passion for work. So I think that translates very well into the film because she's making a very emotional journey, making us part of her emotions as well. So yeah, I think it is actually a very good film to make and to see also.
Actually, I agree with a lot of what Isha said because I feel like,
Okay.
I mean, I've seen biographies before, but I feel like all of them just attempt to glorify the person so much that this feels like a personification of perfection in every sense of the word. And I feel like after watching this, I felt like this was such a human portrayal of someone because you see how you see like a holistic approach to the person, his professional life and his personal life, and I think you kind of understand the complexities and how the daughter also must have felt. Like I think it's you kind of see this acceptance of her to like of the impact that he had on her life personally, but also accepting the kind of effort and the hard work that he put into his life for his work. So I think that was very, very well done. It was such a, I think, something very unlike that I've seen, which I really enjoyed because I felt like this so realistic portrayal is very hard to find.
How do you put a camera on somebody who has always wielded the camera himself? Huh, Nireen?
Yeah, I just like to make a point that I don't think he's doing what he's doing because he's brave or something. I think he needs film. It's the only way he can express himself. That's why he does that. That's why he goes to places. That's it. I don't think he's brave. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also it's a lot of perspectives we bring into something which is our own, no? Maybe we are not brave, so we find him brave. He does not know because he's there, That's the way he is. And but the challenge of bringing that out in somebody's portrait is also something important. No? You also live by the same things that you die by, also, in a way. That is something to that we have seen earlier also with Nicholas Ray, or the people who are like invested so much in the work. So there are filmmakers and there are filmmakers. I mean, you can have your own view on the filmmaker, but you give them their due. That's what I think when you are looking at it as a critic and a more nuanced viewer also. Yeah.
It's rather ironic when he's like actually talking about Meena Kumari, and he says that how stupid is that woman to like die to alcohol, and it's beyond irony. Yeah.
Yeah. And how only sometimes you think that the form of the medium of the film itself, that how it can bring all these things also, the what we are saying about the looking at from all sides, multi perspective, in that way, how cinema lends itself to such an evaluation. That is quite something that this medium is capable of doing also, no? To go back and look at something, your so many journeys get mixed up here, but at the same time, at the end, what emerges or stays in your head, how does it come together after you have watched? That is very characteristic of the medium itself, that you're not writing a book about him, but making a film, and that also implicates you in a very different way somewhere, because it's so you see the images, no? You see it's about images, and you see that, and also that being done after such a long time. That itself, the time in between itself, is a factor that has to be taken into account. No, she has grown from that little child to this filmmaker and this woman looking back now. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Even I felt the same. Like when the daughter goes back to the past and trying to touch her father, and through his body of work, how it will be feel. She has shown. Thanks to her that she didn't write the book. Actually, the movie was great. Actually, I felt like that because I would have not read the book actually if it is.
Yeah.
So because the photograph she chosen to show in the documentary are very important actually. All these photos, so many photographs he has taken, and more than this parallel connection between the daughter and the father, I also admire to his charisma, his attitude as a filmmaker, as an artist, how he wanted to portray at that time in 60s and 70s. How he wanted to make. I was wondering when I was seeing that he had connection with all these people, all top people. Amitabh Bachchan was there. Then these people were there. I don't think in Malayalam or Tamil cinema at that time, those people who wanted to go in a parallel movement, they don't have any connection. I don't think John Abraham don't have any connections with any other this so-called, I mean, the popular cinema people. So it was very different for me because he had all the connection, but still he chose to do something what he wants. I felt like he must be at some point thinking like my daughter and my wife will understand at one point. Maybe he might be thinking like that. It was very emotional for me because I know some people. I mean, he remembered one of my favorite writer, Jayakantan in Tamil. There is one writer. He doesn't care about anyone. MGR will call. He will say that I'm drinking with my friends, so I can't come to meet you. So like that guy, that kind of charisma. Not every artist will get that actually. I mean, it's a pure form of the confidence they get on their work, and the kind of madness going to Sham Banagal's house in the midnight and doing this kind of celebration of life every day, celebrating every day. And on the other part, he is working so hard. He is going and seeing war, and still he stays very sensitive. Everyone is saying after even 30 years he has died, and everyone is saying he is so sensitive. He is looking this the things he wanted to show are very sensitive also. Well, I didn't see any of the movies, but still the photograph is showing everything, but like what he wants to show and all these things. And the sensitivity what Ashirwad that day was saying, I'm getting desensitized or something like that. Even after watching the war and everything, he's still sensitive. And even after even till the last moment he died in the while working. It was a very, actually, I don't know how to explain it. It's inexplicable actually. Very, I was very moved actually. And uh, and uh, what else? I don't know. I couldn't gather my points actually. When I was watching, I was very.
Oh, yeah, you have gathered. Yeah. I mean, that's the success of the film also. You know.
Yeah.
In a way that, it has taken that very inevitable form and reached something to us about which it's not very easy to theorize or say, because it is also coming perhaps from that place of whether, I think if she starts making the film, or how many years she may have thought about before starting, I don't know. But all that at the point at which one thinks, okay, I can do it, or I should do it, or I will do it, that to reach that point also itself is a journey which shows in the film.
Yeah. Because he shares in the last. It took
Sorry.
30 years to understand this thing. She says something like that, right? It was very, actually, it's very nice.
Also, how it goes beyond the film itself, from where it starts to and where it takes us. It expands the horizon for us to look at this also beyond these binaries also of documentary things, because what is cinema, what is film, what is work, what is also life, because they're so entangled. That's why it makes it so complex and difficult, because this, so where do you draw the line? Yeah, where does the, let's say, professional so-called life end, and where does the personal start? To think of that for somebody for whom work is so critical.
Work is worship. Work is worship. He says that in the film.
Yeah. Yes.
His assistant says that about him. Yeah.
Yes.
One thing I really liked was the dialogue she was having with her father, like imagining what he would say. Those internal dialogues were, they strike out to me. I had seen this film before, and I hadn't watched any of Sukhdev's work, but when we were watching, what were we watching yesterday? Miles to Go. We were watching Miles to Go. And there was that shot where, that montage where they zoom in and out on that party, and montage of other people in the country. And I remembered that this was, that I have seen this before. It's very striking imagery, and it's something I cannot forget. And yeah, so that dialogue with her father, I like trying to understand him on that level, and also presenting that to us, where we are seeing this entire journey of this character, where she is again, we see her do everything. Nothing is hidden from us. Her process, her editing, her watching the, finding the certain tapes and viewing them. It's all a part of the movie. And yeah, again, this is a very complex topic for her. There is no black and white answer she's going to get, and neither is she trying to glorify him completely. She is putting, whatever she faced and whatever he was, like, she's not, I don't see that bias. There is that open-mindedness to understand to actually examine the topic. And at such an age, she's taking this journey. She's not immature at this point. I really love the way she goes about this, and where she doesn't leave herself out of the film and these conversations and these situations, because I'm sure the people he was around will definitely have a bias, and we won't get the full story without her and without her mother. Mother is also very important. Again, how she takes time with a person, how she's interviewing someone, even someone who's close to her. So, this is not done in one meet.
Yes.
The first meet, her mother is not ready to open up completely, And so I love that also, how that comes out. How, at what point, what information she's getting. So if I were to do this same process, then how do I, go about it with people? And so that's obviously a very patient process where I'm not sure how long she took in making it, but very well thought out, That's, yeah. Yeah. Also, that one scene I really liked, where Khilone Wala, they show that she is fallen down, and her father is like, you understand that now, right? You understand why I couldn't say cut, because I had a limited film. You understand that now, and she's like, but it's not only that, right? Like, you also could have been more considerate later. You could have tried to explain it to me, or so yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah, actually, very, very true. What it brings out also is this, somewhere that you guys are saying about understanding the artist and the family and, all that surrounds them, because the whole point of the not doing the glorification is also a decision, no? Somewhere also. So also thinking that the artist is not a perfect guy, So he also has his issues, तो वो सही है वो क्वेश्चन, और वो पूछ भी नहीं पाई कभी उस तरीके से, है ना? तो वो भी एक चीज है, but it makes me also think while you guys are talking about it, that how one aspect of the challenging job that the filmmaker has, who is also a daughter of Sukhdev, not of a filmmaker, but of Sukhdev. At times you feel the way she's put her, especially the conversation with the father, there are also those times where she's perhaps asking the questions like the little girl, because that is the point where she's returning to yeah, Srishti.
Yeah, just going off of that, there's a part in the movie where her mom, she starts the film with kind of blaming her mom for keeping her away from her father and keeping her, and her mom says, I had to keep you away because you wouldn't understand this back then,
Yeah.
And so I think it's very interesting how, for me, the film also brought up this question of how important is art to human life, and I really feel like I got that from the mother, because she understood that about her own husband, that yeah.
Yeah, very important point. Yeah, actually, this is true. How do you, and also at the same time, the question doesn't get answered. You still feel that, maybe she should have allowed her. I don't know. For the loss that now she lives with, or live with all her life, that whatever that relationship would have been, maybe she should have allowed her that. But we cannot be sure about that.
Yeah.
Can't be sure, but the interesting thing about this is also that the questions she raises, also, there is no really, we see what you have said about the journey she makes and the resolution or healing the filmmaker finds for herself through this whole process. But somewhere the courage also I feel in the filmmaker of also keeping the questions alive, not trying to answer them or not trying to sort of wave them off also. Let them be there.
It becomes even more interesting that at the end she does say that thank you to her mother for the unconditional support, and that's also really interesting, that anger, as we might understand it, anger and okay, but also working through that and then coming to this place of also seeing unconditional, that's a big word. That's a really big word. So how to find that place in yourself to come to that. Yeah.
Smita, anything? There's no compulsion to speak, but I just missing your voice.
No, I'm honestly still. So the first thought that came to my mind after I saw the film was about the artist, right? And what I really found is the comfort that he had developed with pain. Not comfort. We can just say, you know, I wouldn't say that it takes courage or not courage or whatever, but his daughter as well as he himself, right? They know that they're on a painful journey. Everybody feels pained when they see something happening in around them which should not be happening, but it takes a different kind of mindset to say to wade through that pain, right? And uh, yes, while this was the daughter's journey, right, she was also like wading through the pain. That's the sense that I got. It wasn't easy for her. Not all answers were coming her way. Maybe not all answers, I mean, have come her way even after the making of the film, right? But the decision to wade through that pain, I think that was there in the daughter and it was there in the father, right? And that sort of makes me think about the artist and the instinct for self-preservation. I feel somewhere artists में वो missing होता है. Especially artists who decide to take up these subjects that can really tear them apart on the inside, right?
Very interesting point, yeah.
That's
That's true.
honestly, that is what I was thinking of. And, also like the idea of ownership, my father or my husband or my mother, right? But the ability to let go and saying कि नहीं ये हमारा नहीं ये तो मतलब काफी और लोगों का है. It's not easy to do that.
So this whole process of creating something is so enmeshed because we are human beings also. That's one reason why we work like this. But it's also enmeshed with all these various work and personal relationships through which one has to, uh, you know, see very critically in a way how subtly some forces work, and where how it makes you what you are, in a way. So many of these factors which we are, when we are telling these, the thing with these all the official narratives is this, that I feel it's very important to critique have a critical eye on the official narratives of heroes and our whole tendency to hero worship and glorify and all that, because it takes away a very important quotient from it, the fallibility of being human and so many complexities that come with it. And because we are fed on these official narratives, so that all complexity, if you leave out and settle for a simple official narratives of things, then are we complicating the things more and letting it descend into something, into the kind of vulgarization where we have descended, where it's now very difficult to actually go and find the truth, because all the official narratives have been written in such a way that all the rest of the people who will ever come to explore it and give up their lives doing that also will always remain alternative. Therefore, I think the role of all these people who are courageous enough to be themselves, because it definitely takes courage to be yourself. It needs courage to be yourself because you have to stand with yourself, and there will be all these troubles. Question will be asked. You will have to pay a cost. There will be costs involved, somewhere. And if not, the other people who have to pay in their life, it will still be on their conscience. Sometimes through the work also you see that this person is grappling perhaps all his life or all her life with just one question. Would be possible. And in various films, it takes different forms of, and depending on, because it's a collaborative work, and when depending on who is working with whom, and all these things bring so many nuances to the work. It's always not possible to do justice to give credit to where it's due and all that. I understand that, but that is why the onus falls on also the critic and the audience in a way to be able to look beyond their own ideas and binaries of this and that in terms of what is nameable. Also on the fact that even the works that are banned and prohibited and thrown out or suppressed, they still can come out at some point. So the work transcending the life of the artist also becomes a very important idea here, that that they know also what it means कि work रह जाएगा और work की ज़्यादा बड़ी life है. मेरी life तो look at all these people dying at 37 and 40 and 44 and I mean, so yeah, so that is also one way of understanding time. The kind of what you bring to that time is what the time is going to give back to you. So we always discount that key. Okay, forget about all, but what can I do in this moment? Both the people, like Sukhdev and also his wife, both people equally, like Snigdha said, I would like to bring them into the narrative, which Shabnam is also doing, and we are able to get to that because of her. Both of them, I think, are able to do that thing of saying that what I can do in this moment. That's what I think makes it possible, which is quite a difficult thing, because our thought always goes on what is not there.